Hey, welcome to the Moto Academy Members Podcast, episode number 2, where we dive deeper into the world of motocross and the life of the Moto Academy community. This time, I am hosting this podcast. I am Christian Gelauf, and in this episode, I have a fascinating discussion with Mind Moto for the second time. Whether you are a TMA member or just curious about motocross, this podcast could be for you. Sit back, relax, and join us in this journey as we learn more about each member. If you like the podcast, just give it a thumbs up. Let's get started. Okay, welcome, Mind Moto, episode number 2.
How are you?
How is that? Huh?
Perfect.
It feels quite some time in between, but I was sick, I was on holiday, I don't know, everything in between. But,
You've been riding.
Riding yesterday for the first time this year. Yeah,
Right.
was,
How the aches and pains?
Huh?
How the aches and pains this morning?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but okay. That is always like that the first time in the year, so that's okay. As we discussed up front, but that is not for the listener, we're going to address 2 big topics, and we see that here in the background: motocross and mental health. So I prepared some questions about motocross for you, and of course you can ask me anything, but that's a little bit how the preparation was done. And I have several questions about mental health.
Great. 2 of my favorite topics.
Yes, yeah, that is what I thought. Yeah. Let's start with motocross questions. And when I was writing these questions, I thought let's start at the beginning. So,
Great.
When and what was the origin for your love of motocross?
That's a great question. I think for me, it was probably from my dad. Growing up, he rode everything. He had lots of road bikes, but he rode everything. He had dirt bikes, and I think just kind of from his passion, I picked up on his passion really quickly. And I remember when I was a kid, I would always call motocross bikes stick-ups.
Stick-ups?
Stick-ups, because they were always the only bikes I ever saw with the mudguards, the fenders, were up high off the wheel. So when I was a tiny kid, I'm talking 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Oh, look, these stick-ups.
Stick-ups.
And I remember...
The fender was sticking up, so to say.
That's right, yeah. And I remember being a really young kid and having a real passion for motocross. I don't remember ever how it kind of started. I just remember always having it. And I remember watching guys like David Bailey, Rick Johnson. Loved them. Absolutely loved them.
But how were you exposed then? Was there some place close to you that you've seen it in real life, or was it just on the television, or did you look at programs about that, or what?
I don't know. I remember my dad had a series of books called On. There was 7 volumes of these books.
Yeah.
And I remember he let me read through those. And I think it was probably from there that I realized that I loved the look of these bikes and the fact that they were getting dirty and they were going fast, and I loved everything about it. And I don't really remember at any specific time where it was like, oh yeah, I remember I'm now addicted to motocross. But I remember I think I've always been addicted to motocross. I must have been born like it, Christian.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just funny, because the thing was also for myself. I started thinking about when did it really start? And indeed, it is more, you're gradually introduced to something, and more over time you get some interest in something, and it builds
it's like organic.
Yeah, but
it's just organically. Yeah, strange that.
Yeah, I think that works a little bit with kids like that. So that's always what they say. When they are young, they're open to anything, and I think also it's good that in schools they show different sports, etc., stuff like that, so that they can sort of make up their mind, say, hey, this fits me, because not everything fits everybody. Simple as that.
That's right. We're almost a product of our environment, aren't we? So if we're raised in a place that is into X, Y, or Z, we're naturally going to kind of show an interest, I think, in those things. And I think until we grow older, that we start to either think, yeah, I'm going to pursue that, or I'm going to step away from it.
Yeah. Okay. And the next question, I think, is an obvious question, I guess. So, what was the first bike that you drove?
That's a great question again. So it was a Malaguti, which is Italian.
Yeah,
A Malaguti 50 when I was 5 years old.
5 years, okay.
5 years old, yeah. And I remember because my dad bought the bike, or he got paid for a job with this.
Oh, it was a result of
and he restored it for us and made it absolutely perfect. I remember my grandma painted a big kind of portrait of an eagle on the side of it, and it was really badass. And it was like, this is the coolest bike ever. And I rode it probably the second time on it, and I crashed it, and I put a hole in the pedal. But yeah, I was 5 years old on a Malaguti 50.
Malaguti.
Great. And in fact, my dad now has that bike back. We found it and we rebought it back, and he now owns it again.
Oh, that's funny. So he said, let's get it back again.
That's right. Let's get it back.
Malaguti. So yeah, I do know the name, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they're Italian. Don't hold me to that, but I think they're Italian. But it's a great little thing, really, and fast for what it was. We'd go really fast. And of course, being 5, I was so light, the thing would just take off.
yeah. But you're 5. I think everything flies off. That is.
Yeah.
I think the first, for me, then I did not have a motorcycle or something. I think for me it was a moped the first time that I drove on.
Okay. Yeah.
And also for me a little bit, my dad was, let's say, into the motorcycles. He did not own a motorcycle, at least not in my knowledge, when he was my parent, so to say. But before he was my parent, he owned a scooter and a motorcycle, something like that. So he was a little bit pro on this. And also, he allowed me, at least, I can remember driving on, it's just an old moped. I have no idea where it came from, but I have older brothers, and my oldest brother was already into that. First with bikes, normal cycles, and then later on, of course, a moped. And my parents did not mind so much that I could hardly get with my feet to the thing, and I was just sitting on the thing like running around, in a piece of grass. And my parents didn't mind. They were like, okay, funny. Put a helmet on, and that was it, right? And they were not so.
Great memories, right?
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, that's a little bit what it is. Okay, and then the next question comes a little bit, and we already talked about this, but this question is in general in nature. 2-stroke or 4-stroke? Why?
Okay, so I first started racing motocross when I was 16.
Okay.
We can get onto the story of why that took so long, but I used to struggle with my anxiety back in the day when I was a kid, and I was too anxious to race when I was a kid. So I eventually got around to 16.
Okay.
And I always raced 2-strokes. So I started on a KX 125, and then I think I did about a season and a half on that. And then somebody said to me, "Oh, you're not aggressive. You're not aggressive enough to ride a 125. You don't ride it hard enough."
Oh.
Because I was like, "Okay, what does that mean?" So he said, "You need to go up on a 252 stroke, a 250." So when I was 17, I know, so it was crazy. So in fact, I was late into my 17 year, and then I turned 18, and I went up to a 250 Honda, 252 stroke. And I started getting all my results, Christian. Like suddenly out of the blue, I suddenly started getting results just because I was on this 252 stroke.
Because you have more power then.
I think it might have just been a power thing, but I felt like my style of riding suited the 252 stroke over the 125. You know, you've seen those guys on 125s. They're just on the pipe, right? Just really aggressive, momentum. And I never rode like that. So I was more smooth and kind of more precise. So I got up to a 252 stroke, and then I stayed on the 252 stroke for most of my riding, and then I went over to a 4-stroke when I was 19, nearly 20, and I'd gone to the expert class. So I'd then gone up into the expert class, and everyone in the expert class, or the majority of them, were all on 4-strokes. And I guess it must have been some kind of not like a peer pressure, but I felt like maybe I should be on a 4-stroke. And I went up to a 450 Honda.
450. Okay.
A 450. Yeah, so I've always been quite a stocky, big built guy. So I was always kind of worked better on the bigger capacity bikes.
Okay.
And I think I did 2 seasons on the 450, and then I went back to a 2-stroke. And now I'm on a 4-stroke again. So I guess that's a long-winded way to answer your question. I'm gonna answer it by saying I like anything.
Okay.
Literally, I'm going to be diplomatic. I like anything.
You can also switch that easy then.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a skill, but I have this kind of. I can switch from bike to bike with relative ease and not really feel any different. Okay. So there's a few people that I know that get quite round up by me by being able to do that quite so easily. But like I said, I don't think it's a skill.
Yeah, not often, but a few times I have driven somebody's 4-stroke, and I have really problems when doing that, because all my life I've been driving 2-stroke, and the engine brake, I cannot understand that. If I ride the 4-stroke, it's like, I'm standing still in front of the corner because I let go of the gas too early every time. I'm like, okay, I have to go further, but even after 2 or 3 rounds, it's still not in the system.
Yeah, it's for that. I mean, that is the biggest kind of the biggest thing against the whole 2-stroke and 4-stroke thing, isn't it? It's that engine brake. But weirdly, this is going to sound odd, but I don't really notice it. I don't really notice it. I don't know why, but I have this funny thing with my brother and my dad where I can ride a bike with a terrible setup and not really notice, and they'll come in and be like, "Ow, what are you doing? Like, this is that one fork's got no air in it, or one fork's got no oil in it," and I haven't noticed. So I have this, like I said, I don't think it's a skill. It's just an ability to be able to ride any bike, any capacity, any size, but not a 125.
Okay, not a 125. Well, maybe if you would start riding it now, it might work much better. But to be honest, what I know from a 125, I only rode it a few times on a piece of grass or whatever. It was not on the track, at least. You have to shift. Oh yeah, crazy. Yeah. Oh, you're hanging, and you're gone. Okay. I will keep the recording going. Yeah. And you're back. Good.
Oh no.
Yeah, you went away. That doesn't matter.
That was weird.
Yeah, you dropped off. Doesn't matter. I will cut it out.
It's not how many times you fall down, it's when you get back up.
But did you do anything, or did you automatically?
No, didn't touch anything, and then I went big on the screen, and then you came back.
Yeah, okay, well, it's just connection lost for a moment.
Never mind.
That's no problem. Hey, I like this story because I thought you had driven both indeed, and I was a little bit wondering, what do you prefer?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I have a preference ultimately.
Okay.
I own both 4-strokes and 2-strokes, and the main bike I ride now is a 450. I love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, because I've driven the bike from AJ. That was a Honda. Yeah, I think that was the 2023, something like that, or maybe 22. I do not know exactly. The only thing was when I drove it, the shifter was too low for me. I could not get my feet under it almost.
Okay. Yeah.
I already saw it when the bike was standing there. Jamie was saying, "Ah, do you want to ride the bike?" Yeah, but the shifter, I cannot shift with that one. That is, I can already see it, so to say, when I look at it.
Did you move it in the end?
No, no, there was no time. Well, after I was thinking there was time, but he
Yeah.
didn't want to change it. But that is not relevant. It was funny that I was driving an Kawi the whole week, and I
Okay.
drove. I think also an was that a Yamaha? Yeah, I think it was a Yamaha. Also
Yeah.
4-stroke, and with both of those bike, I had problems with the engine brake. I could not. And it was 250F. Every time I was like, yeah, I let go of the gas on a wrong moment, and I could not get used to that. And also, when it's getting a little bit bumpy,
Yeah.
yeah, if you then have less engine brake, I think for me it's easier when you bob 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 go over these bumps. So
So
that
did you
was
when you rolled the throttle off,
yeah
you kind of got thrown forward?
yeah that uh, okay, that was if you do a few rounds you get used to that, but still your timing is off.
Mm.
Going into the corner, hey, I have to wave.
That was Miles.
Yeah,
Come on.
come back.
Hello to Christian.
Hi.
Hey.
Get your drink.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, Christian.
Yes, don't worry. And I could not get that timing right. But when I drove the 450 from AJ,
Yeah.
uh, that bike was in that respect much easier. So when you let go of the gas, maybe it's also because it's a 450. I do not know the difference between 250, 450, that it is lower
Well,
RPM or something, that it
yeah.
breaks
So
less.
I found the 250F, the
Yeah.
250 stroke, I found you still had to be quite revy with it. So you'd almost ride it kind of like a 125. So keep it in the power.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things similar to a 125 that I've found is obviously when you roll off the power and you lose that momentum, that's where all your speed goes because the momentum's gone. And I find a 250F similar to that. So with a 450, I find the ability to be able to kind of roll into turns and roll over obstacles much easier because there's so much power, right?
Yeah, exactly. The only thing was, as I said, for me it was very difficult to shift with that bike, but I did, I don't know, I think 3 or 4 laps with that bike in Tomahawk, and I don't know if you have seen a lot of videos of AJ over there, so you know the track is a little bit soft, so to say.
Yeah, it looks like almost like a mulch.
Yeah, that is because they also put wood in. I think that is for the rain that can absorb or something. But also, yeah, when I was there, then how can you say that? You look at all these movies, but of course AJ is driving so easily that you're like, okay. But when I was there, I was like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, this track is very soft, and they come down from the mountain and make a corner up. And if you go down, you have 1, 2, 3, 5 lanes where you have to pick. You cannot say, "Oh, it's a flat thing." No, it's just lanes and you have these brake bumps going in. I was like, "Oh no, okay, this is pay attention when you drive in, so to say." Yeah.
The thing with AJ, he makes everything look so easy. It's like when you know we did the Moto 101 class when I first met you.
Yeah.
I just watched him and I was like, how are you making that look so easy? Yeah, he just does. He just makes anything look easy. Like, I'm not even blowing smoke. I'm just like, he is just, it's a phenomenal rider.
Yeah, that is his skill there.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go back to the questions because I want to stay in time, in your time and in my time.
Fine.
Then we have more to talk about next time. Let me get the focus back because we switched a little bit up. So, I think you did mention this, but was there a break in your motocross time?
Yeah.
And why was that?
Yeah. So I kind of, I can't really remember the time limit in a sense. I think the biggest catalyst for me kind of stopping riding was when I got married. It wasn't so fault. It was just I felt that it was for some unknown reason, I felt that it was irresponsible of me to be kind of riding when I was trying to settle into a career and newly married. And
Okay.
so that kind of, it wasn't ever really a time where I went, right, I'm quitting, I'm done. But I felt like a lot of the sport had lost its magic to me, because there was a few people that we got involved with that kind of weren't really very friendly. I had some bikes stolen.
Yeah.
It was all those things just kind of amalgamated into this package of me going, I can't really do this anymore.
Okay. So but it is nothing to do with the fact that you would say, because I think that is for most people what would be, let's say, the reason to stop. At least what I heard in the Moto Academy is that they get hurt or something, and then they say, okay, I do not want to have that risk. But I hear you say a little bit like that. Say you want to start a career, then
Yeah, I
your
think
own business, or
it was never, no, at the time it was kind of just, I think I was still just kind of working out. I got married quite young. So I think I got married when I was 23, 24, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Sophie will probably slap me for getting that wrong, but yeah, I got married quite young. So it was one of those things where I just recognized the importance of kind of pursuing life over pursuing what I'd seen as a potential motocross career, right? And
Did you really see it in that way?
I think so, yeah. I've always dreamed since I was a kid of having a career in motocross, no matter whether that's racing, whether that's in the industry. I've always dreamt of it, even when I was back in, the days when I called them stick-ups.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of, I wanted to be in the industry, and I've dreamt of that.
I think as kid, we all think of stuff what we would like to be. I can remember, what is that? In school, where they ask you, tomorrow you're going to tell something what you would like to be, and everybody gets that assignment. And I can remember myself at that time, I was maybe not 100% in motocross, but I really like these rally cars. I was like, okay, that is going to be it for me. So I was telling the teacher, I said, okay, I'm going to be a rally rider, because that is so super.
Great. That's an amazing sport. I mean, the skill of that is unbelievable as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I've never done that, not even remotely, I would say. But as a kid, you can have these, you can be amazed by something and say, okay, yes, that is what I want to be.
Would you
I
still
want to be a firefighter or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you'd still rally now or not?
No, I have nothing. To be honest, I have nothing with cars so much. That is funny, because both of my brothers, they are really into the cars.
Yeah.
And doing let's say birthdays and parties, they always talk about cars. And for me,
I think we said it last time, too many wheels.
Yeah, two wheels too much. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the point, we digressed a little bit, but yeah, I think I definitely saw an end. I saw a kind of a break, for want of a better word, in my riding, and I sold the bike I was riding then. And I think, I don't know, I think that the joy had just gone from it. I think it might have been probably my attitude towards people and towards things. And I think growing up, I was very conscious about what people thought of me. And I was...
Or a little bit too conscious.
Yeah, I think I couldn't really turn up to the track and just ride or just learn. I had to be like, oh, who's here? Oh. And even, I've heard AJ talk about it, but I can relate. He says about smelling the race fuel at meetings would trigger this thing in me. And I thought, I guess, being totally transparent, I found that motocross was ultimately bad for me, because...
Okay. If you get that feeling. And then how was your dad in that then? He was like, okay, yeah. Because he's a...
My parents are so supportive. They're amazing. And they would do kind of anything to make sure me and my brother are happy. Okay. And I think they just backed my decision to kind of step away from it. I don't even remember I think, in fact, no, I do. I tell a lie. I think I remember the meeting where we'd done a race meeting, and something just wasn't clicking. I wasn't feeling right, and I remember looking at Dad. In fact, I think it was a practice. It was a practice session, and I just looked at Dad, and I put my bike on the stand, and I said, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore." Okay. And we were involved in a local club then, and my dad was chairman of that club.
Okay.
So we were fully invested in every kind of aspect of the sport. And I think to frame it, it burnt us out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's also then a good reason maybe to stop. And so I did not write it down, but going back from this idea, then where was the point that you said, well, I want to try it again?
Great question. Yeah, I think it was just realizing the fact that it never went away. Right. I think I tried to kind of, I mean, it's almost like any addiction in a sense, isn't it? You you can mask it, but it's like it never goes away. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think the years just went by, and I just began to miss it, and I just began to think, no, I still want to ride. I still want to do this. But I think in that interim period, I rode a lot of BMX, and I rode a lot of mountain bikes. So I was still getting my two-wheeled fix. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was just from a realization that I miss this. I miss doing it.
Yeah, okay.
And I remember I found myself a 252-stroke Honda, a 2003, and I loved that bike. And I went out and raced the first time in many years since I quit. Yeah. And I went out and got like a top 10 in the senior group, which is kind of the middle tier speed-wise guys. Yes. And I went out and got top 10 my first race back, and I suddenly realized, this hasn't gone away. I'm back, baby.
Yeah. The question is that really the case? Okay. I'm going a little bit further because we talked about also your boys last time. So Miles and Morgan, do they still ride?
So yes and no. That's a kind of a tricky question because I remember when I first found out I was having Morgan, my eldest son. Yeah. I think I had that kind of like epiphany moment. I was like, oh, he's going to ride. He's going to race. He's going to ride. He's a boy. Like he's going to ride. He's amazing. I thought to myself, I'm going to be the proper kind of schoolboy motocross dad and all in. And it just didn't work. It just didn't work. He wasn't into it. And I think anything that he did, he rode for probably about a year. Yeah. But I realized that it was me forcing him to, not him wanting. And I didn't like that dynamic that he was pleasing me.
That's very good to hear that you realize it is, let's say, your sort of wish with that happening and not his thing. And that's good that you see that.
I was kind of almost living my dream through him.
How many friends do not do that? Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is it. But then it's realizing that actually my boys are their own people, they're their own human beings, and I can't necessarily. I can guide them, I can encourage them, but I can't force them to do anything that they don't want to do. So Morgan, my eldest, he stopped riding and he went over and tried a few different things. Okay. And of course, Miles came along, and Miles developed such a organic love for motocross. And I loved that, and I thought, oh, this is it. This is my opportunity to be the dad. The motocross dad. And he loved it, and he was a great little rider. He wasn't the fastest, but he was a solid rider. And we did a couple of race meetings with him. And honestly, Christian, to see that little guy on the line of a 40 rider lineup, it was just an amazing kind of moment for me.
Hard going or not?
Not really. It was strange. I was quite calm, and I fully trusted him to be able to do it. Right? Okay. there wasn't like a fear. There was more of a calm. It was odd.
Okay.
But he then started to show signs that being on the line was quite anxiety inducing and was quite a comfort zone thing.
Yeah.
So I think I just gave him the option, do you want to carry on doing this or do you not? And he chose to kind of put it on the back burner, for want of a better word. He chose to put a pin in it.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they were exposed to it, they tried it, and okay, you start building up a feeling and you're like, okay, this is not really it. But do they enjoy watching you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Morgan would probably get bored at a motocross meeting if he was going to be totally honest. But when they're both fully invested, which is great. And I see them, obviously I say racing, I haven't raced for a few years now, but I'd always see them every lap going around. I'd see them there cheering me on. And it was just, it's amazing. Yeah. But they're their own men, and they're forming their own paths.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to hear. Okay, a little bit back to you in the whole story in your whole career motocross thingy. What is the worst crash?
I remember it well.
Of course.
So, are you interested in a little bit of the backstory first?
Let's do it.
So, at the time, I was one of the top seniors in kind of my local area, and I remember being not cocky, because my dad would always tell me not to be cocky, and I listened because my dad. I backed the play with my dad. My dad's my hero. Okay. And I remember lining up that day. It was a local race not far from where we lived. Mm-hmm. And I lined up and I looked down the start gate and I thought to myself, and I remember looking at Dad and I said, Dad, I've got all this covered. I've got these guys covered. And I remember he smacked me on the back of the head.
Okay.
And he said, just go out and ride. Don't worry about them. And my dad has got such great little snippets of wisdom, little gems of wisdom that I still hold, to this day. Anyway, I went out in the first moto that day, and I took the whole shot and I pulled away. I was pulling away from the field, and I felt like I wasn't really pushing, and I was pulling away, which is a great feeling.
Yeah.
And then I lost the front end. I just washed the front end and fell off. And I could not get my bike started. I never used to have many mechanical issues because Dad was a genius, but I couldn't get the bike started. And second and third passed me. And of course I was there getting, my heart rate was through the roof. I was like, oh no. Yeah. So I then got back, eventually got the bike started, and I chased down third. I passed third. I was chasing second. And the kind of white flag came out, so the last lap, and I knew this was it. I had to pass the guy. And there was a section of track that had like do you know the word like chicane?
Yeah, chicane, yeah.
It had like a chicane in it, but I'd worked out that if you entered it just right, you could straight line it. Yeah, and it seemed like I was the only person in the kind of my whole race that was straight lining the chicane. But of course, straight lining it, you carried so much speed through it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I was probably 18. Yeah, I was 18, maybe 18 at the time. So I was young and boisterous and just wanted to win. And I remember straight lining this chicane, and what it was, it had acceleration bumps and braking bumps in the middle. Yeah. And I was managing to kind of skim over them. But this time, for some unknown reason, my front end went in a hole and just threw my bars into like this huge head shake.
Yeah.
So much so that my hands came off the bars. And I fell going, like, it was fast. It was a fast section of the track.
Yeah, of course.
As I fell down, I basically stayed on the bike and impacted on my right-hand side. And I basically tore the ligaments in my knee, and I separated the patella from my knee, and it was ugly. But it just felt like a massive crash. And I remember people around me said my bike was like 4 or 5 foot in the air, just flipping.
Yeah, it was awful.
I remember that been quite pivotal actually that day in kind of humbling me and making me realize that actually this sport, I'm not infallible and this sport can bite me.
Yeah.
And so I think looking back, that was my worst crash. I think that didn't feel good.
No, 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 no. That doesn't sound good, but it is always like that, of course. Huh?
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, for me, I'm a lucky guy. I would say I think the worst crash for me, I broke my collarbone,
Okay.
and what just happened was I made a jump, and it was on a track that was not really well prepared, and I think it is maybe the first or second year that I was seriously driving motocross, and that was a little bit. So it's a wall like this, but because it was not prepared a lot, then you got in the middle a sort of V. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody's doing the
Yeah.
middle, and
Yeah,
I
like a
was
rut.
going a little bit, yeah, to the side, of course, you know that, and then yeah, you stay sitting too long, and then uh, it
Yeah.
goes sideways, and then bam, yeah, you're thrown on the floor the other direction.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit how that went. Yeah, I could not get up. I can remember somebody had to drive me home because yeah, first of all, you have all your air is gone, but that is okay. That can happen. I had that before once, but now I had something like, oh, there's something not okay here. Huh? And in the beginning, he said, there was a guy coming in. Oh, you felt I, they did not see me because I was lying behind the
Oh, of
jump, and
course.
he said, yeah, there was no sound anymore, so I would come and have a look what's going on, and yeah, I was lying on the floor there, of course, and
Wow.
to be honest, there was nobody behind me, so that was okay. It was a safe situation for at least for the other riders. And so he said, "Yeah, shall I push your bike back? Yeah, let's do that." So I just walked to my car. I can remember, but yeah, after I don't know half an hour, I said to him, "Oh, can you please put my bike?" I had a van at that time. I can
Yeah.
remember. Can you put it in the van? And I said to him, "Yeah, I think I cannot drive home. I have no, yeah, all your muscles start,
Awful.
yeah,
Yes.
sort of relaxing because they do not want to feel the pain." I said, I cannot drive home. It's impossible. And he said, oh, okay, I will drive you home then. Is there somebody at home that can drive me back to the track? Because he was there with his son, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that track was not so far away from me, but I think that was my worst thing in overall. Have done many of these side things,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, afterwards, but not so terrible, so to say. You get better at falling, I would say.
Yeah. The thing is, as you get older, you bounce less.
Yeah, no, I don't know, but I try to prevent it more. I guess that is also a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that is.
It's funny though because I've got a whole list of injuries. Like I think I've broken everything all the way up pretty much. I haven't done like a femur or a tibia, which is petrified, but I've done most other things.
Okay. Ugh.
Found like since riding with the Moto Academy, I'm going to say it, I just don't fall off.
Okay.
Because I think the way AJ teaches and the way the coaches teach is just so safe, isn't it? And because
Yeah,
I've reckoned the
I think.
importance of down.
Yeah, I think that is one of his goals, indeed, to make more safe riders. And let's be honest, I think he also had a lot of riders in the beginning, probably also that wanted to become a better rider, but also a safe rider. That's what you see. If people want to become better, then they crash, and then yeah, they go back again and they lose confidence. And yeah, what are you going to do then? And then you think maybe, oh, let's do a course, something like that.
Yeah, that's the important word you've just used is confidence. A big crash will just knock your confidence, and then that's it, then, isn't it?
Yeah, I can remember when I looked at one of the first movies of AJ, but also I think of the MX Factory. Um, yeah,
Oh,
I was thinking that they were saying keep the feet on, also in the corner, and I've never done that in my life. And I looked at these movies and I thought, oh, let's do that. Yeah, no, that doesn't work if you are not familiar to that. And
yeah.
I can remember when I did that the first time, I had quite some crash because I went into a rut and I kept staying in the rut. And keeping my feet on, and I did not. Normally, I would just push with my leg down so that you come upwards again, and then you can continue. But now I didn't, and boom, I went down. It was 6 weeks before I could drive again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think how do you call that? I'm not sure, but you get such a smash on your ribs here that you're like you cannot breathe
Yeah.
well, so to say.
Ribs are a horrible injury.
Yeah, it's not broken, but you know that it is just not
Yeah.
broken. It's like
Yeah. Nice. Nice. But
yeah.
so but I'm glad though, because I've not had any injuries for the last, I don't know, 4 years maybe.
And for me, that doesn't sound so long, but because I think I've driven, yeah, okay, maybe I did a side twist for a moment that I'm 3 weeks out, but not longer than that, to be honest.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's also why my progression is not so fast, I would say. But yeah, if we still enjoy it, it's still okay. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
A question. I guess that you also have different types of tracks.
Yeah.
Hard track, soft track, sand track, slickery track. What do you like?
That's a great question. So I like. This is going to sound funny, but it's the best way I can describe it. If you can pick up the dirt and form it into a ball, it feels tacky. Yeah. That's exactly how I like it.
Okay.
So I'm happy to ride any track if it's tacky.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but I think that is probably also a lot of the time in England it is like that. Is that not the case?
Yeah. It is. There's one of my favourite tracks to ride at is a place called Cheddar MX, which is about an hour from my house.
Yeah.
Their kind of base is really kind of clay. So when it's really wet, you can't really ride it because it just becomes so deep.
Yeah,
but when it's good up there, it is good. Like really love that place when it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I want to go to a little bit what we touched upon already in the previous thing. So when and why did you start searching for motocross videos? Was that already a long time for you, or at some point in time you just started doing that, or what was the reason to start looking for that?
That's a good question. I think it was just a case of pursuing like a level of excellence in what I was doing. I was recognizing that I was just riding as fast as I could and didn't really know what I was doing. And I've kind of always looked at ways to improve. And I remember back in the day, I got a DVD for Christmas by Andrew Short, the American rider who's retired now.
Okay.
He did a DVD, like a training DVD.
Okay.
And
you get that from your dad, or?
I think it was from my parents. I think it was from mum and dad. It might have been, I think it was from mum and dad. Yeah, so mum and dad bought me the DVD. And I was like, oh, this is great.
DVD. So that must be 10 years ago, or what?
Yeah, DVD is a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean...
It wasn't a VHS, but it was a DVD.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of like cemented in me the idea of learning or progressing through watching, and I think that's my learning style. I like to watch. So that's where it kind of came from. Really, it's just recognizing that I could learn from just watching.
So at some point in time, you start watching. So YouTube then, or what?
Yeah.
Or
yeah. So obviously, as the progression of YouTube started to become more popular, and I think the first time I ever saw AJ, I remember his name from when I was a teenager watching Supercross and arena TV. Okay. So I knew of him, and then he put a video up of when I don't know if you've seen it, but he did a replica build, or someone did a replica build of James Stewart's KX125.
I saw that much later when he was talking about it.
And that popped up on YouTube, and that was it. I was hooked. I love the way he rode. I liked him. I thought he had a good attitude, and I thought he was humble. And so it just kind of went from there really. And ever since then, I don't know when that was. Maybe 8 years ago. Maybe.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've pursued him and followed him and just kind of watched and learned.
And are there any other YouTube channels you prefer watching?
I really like Tyler Livesey. So is it Livesey from the MX Factory?
MX Factory, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a great guy. I think he's got a cool attitude, and I like the way he teaches as well. And he does teach a lot of similar stuff to AJ. And I know they've connected a couple of times on some projects, haven't they? Yeah. So he's great. I do watch his stuff, but really, ultimately, from a motocross training perspective, is AJ. The Moto Academy.
It could also be that you say, okay, I also like, for instance, 999 Laser, for instance, something like that.
That's a guy called Max Hind. He's a really great guy. I've met Max very briefly a couple of times. Just a really, really friendly guy.
He looks like it. So,
yeah, he's a great guy. He is, and I love his content. But I don't necessarily watch his content to learn from his riding. I just got such a great, expansive kind of view of the sport that he's just in. I don't know. He's just great to listen to. His passion's just tangible.
Yeah, that is what you hear when you look at his movies. He's so passionate about it, and it's addictive when you listen to him. Last week also, when I was on holiday, then I have much more time to watch, and I looked at least 3 of his movies, and you get excited. The excitement from him you get. You're like, oh yes.
Yeah, dude. So I follow him on my other socials as well, and every time he posts, I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's great. I honestly don't think I've done a movie where I've not been like, this is cool.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so you start looking at YouTube, you start looking at AJ, but what was for you the point that you decided to say, okay, I'm going to join the Moto Academy? I mean, that's money involved, so it means where's that position that you say, okay, I really want to invest in this?
Yeah, I think it was
a little bit what it is, huh?
Yeah, I think it was just organic. I think as I watched him and learnt from him, I kind of wanted to piggyback off his progression in a sense, and I was so kind of enthralled by what he was doing and how he was training and the style he was training with, and I just as I pursued him and followed him, I just naturally went with, oh yeah, cool. So he's created an app. Let's do it. I'm going to join.
Okay.
And I did actually join, and money became a problem. I'll be transparent. Yeah. And I unfortunately had to. Yeah, I had to kind of not cancel my subscription, but I wasn't making payments because I couldn't afford to. Okay. And I think it was Christmas, maybe 2 years ago. No, maybe year before last. Might have been. Don't know. I actually won a lifetime free membership in the app. And it was, me, that was just like, oh! Yeah, so it was.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I won the lifetime subscription, which was obviously mind blowing because it enabled me to then fully throw myself into the app and become part of the community and not have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, that is a really funny story. I can remember that they had that, but I cannot remember that you got that. That is the funny thing, eh? You cannot follow everything what happens, and then also record a person and with situations.
Of course, yeah.
That is because when I met Jackson, for instance, he said also he was one of the guys who won a trip, and I said, I thought I watched all the movies of AJ, but I didn't see that. And I was like,
yeah. Great, actually, because I remember when Jackson won that trip and they shot a film, the trip winner film.
Yeah,
I remember just seeing kind of the connection or the chemistry that him and AJ had, and they just had great chemistry. So it was always natural that Jackson would kind of end up working for the team, and obviously Jackson,
probably.
Great job. Yeah. Christian, can we have a pause moment? Just
Yeah.
Miles just needs
Okay.
action.
Yeah. Action, go. Do you have any class planned this year that you're following with AJ?
Yeah. So AJ has 3 classes in the UK. One at Landrake, which is a track that's about an hour and a half from my house, which is amazing.
Okay.
That's on, I believe, May the 19th. And then May 22nd and 23rd, he's back at Moto 101 for 2 days. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to be attending all 3 because
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, you're lucky. I said to you, for me, it doesn't fit all these things. The timing is for me totally
Yeah.
wrong. So that
Yeah.
is
Slightly more logistically friendly for me to make those classes than it is you.
yeah. Also, but yeah, I also I really need to take some time off. And the thing is, in my work, we have to plan a half year ahead. And I think
Yeah.
last time I was a little bit lucky because there was no course planned in that period. And
Okay.
quite early, I think in January, it was already clear that he was coming. And I thought, well, now I'm going to plan it. And me and Sandra had been on holiday to England several times already, so she was sort of into that. I said, "Oh, we're going to go on holiday this period to England." Oh, she's like, "Oh, okay." She was not aware yet that I'm going to drive at AJ, of course, but that I smoothly
You
bought my
told
things,
her on
so to
the
say.
train over. Yeah, you told her on the ferry over.
Exactly. Something like that. No, that was not the case. I did tell it up front.
Yeah,
But
it's cool.
yeah, I thought it would be okay, and she was okay with that. So, and from the beginning onwards, I said okay. She said, "Where are we going to go? Oh, we have to be there because AJ is there." So we planned on that, and I asked the guy from 101. I said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, what is a nice place to stay?" So he came up with what was that? Uh, how was it called? Oh, terrible! I'm so terrible with names. So 101 is in Grantham, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
And if we go up to the right a little bit, what do we have there?
Good question. I don't. To be honest, I should know the area better, but
Yeah,
I
you
don't.
should know it better than me. But now, if I
Yeah.
would open up Google
Yeah.
Maps, I can see it immediately. Should I do that?
Yeah.
Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Do it.
Let's see. Where were we? Lincoln.
Ah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So a little bit further up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because he said it is a nice town to go into, nice stuff to see. But
Yeah.
also you're in an environment where you can just do a nice walk in nature, stuff like that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful countryside.
Yeah, exactly. And can remember I found that's also pure luck, huh? A bed and breakfast on top a little bit.
The
Yeah.
dog's losing.
Okay. And so that was really funny. It was really a nice environment, and I didn't know upfront, but and I could not see in any photos, but I could really have taken my own motorcycle, though it was not handy. But I
Wow. Yeah.
really could have done that because it was like a farm, and on that
Yeah.
farm they had the bed and breakfast. Is they have
Right.
a lot of room, they have storage stuff like that. They had horses there, everything. So it was really a nice environment.
Do you think if you ever came back to a class at Moto 101, you'd stay there again?
Yes, I think that was very practical. Also, that I do not have to bring the bike
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
because,
you to the Stark.
huh?
And of course, that's the first time you rode a Stark, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that is also, and that was for me. That was plus plus. I saw it. I think on a YouTube movie
Yeah.
that they were renting Starks because I was searching on Stark every time, and then it comes up, of course.
Yeah.
And so I saw that they were starting the rent over there, and it was not immediately. I think it took me a week or something, and I'm thinking, hey, is that not what AJ is coming? And I'm like, oh no, whoa, 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 whoa. And there was one and two, and like, whoa, I'm going to drive there the Stark. That is
That's cool.
that's double,
Uh,
double, because that is what I wanted to do. Okay, in a little bit the same context. I have to click here for a moment with the mouse. Did you ever attend a course with a local coach or anything other than your dad, so to say, as coach?
In fact, I did two. I did two with a guy called Rob Herring. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He's actually a South African born
Okay.
guy, but kind of like set up his home in England and became kind of a home hero here. He won multiple British titles.
Mhm.
Big hero of kind of the 90s, late 80s, early 90s here.
Yeah.
So I went to two training schools with him, and
Okay.
they were a lot of fun, and they were one-on-one. So my dad,
Okay.
amazing, paid for them to be one-on-one, and we went up and I trained with him, which was great. But yeah, that's the only two I've ever been to.
Okay. So that is indeed very nice to do as well. Well,
Yeah.
I told you also that last year I did quite some trainings over here in the Netherlands with a coach over here. Yeah, it's not AJ, that's clear. That's why we look at the AJ. But I think also I learned a lot from him as well. And the biggest thing for me, uh, I think, is still that that person is quite good at giving feedback on what he's seeing, what you're doing, and that
Okay.
is a very
Helps.
positive thing because I've been driving with my friend for 10 years. Yeah, he just says, yeah, you have to get more corner speed, or yeah, but still he cannot really by himself by looking at me give me a tip of, yeah, let's try
Yeah.
this or something. That is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it,
That's good. I mean, it's nice to be able to kind of have someone watch you and then give feedback as
exactly.
you're going.
Yeah, and of course, simply practically, yeah, you have a question or not? Is the dog?
Yeah, he's losing his mind over it. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's just trying to itch his own tail, which is carnage.
Good. Hey, a little bit looking a little bit at the time. We're 1 hour in. The next topic is this topic, but maybe that I leave that a little bit up to you. We should keep this for a next
Okay.
talk.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm totally happy with that. I think I've really enjoyed the conversation. I think,
Yeah,
all your preparation, the questions were great.
good.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll do another one and just focus it on mental health.
Exactly. Yeah, is that okay?
Amazing. Loved it, Christian. Thank you
Because
very
I
much.
think this is a good time schedule also for yeah, people who are listening, of course. Yeah, but
Yeah.
also for you.
Yeah, I've got to get the boys to bed now.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. So yeah, so
Amazing. Thank you.
I will WhatsApp again, and then we make a new appointment, and we will make a new
Amazing.
episode.
I look forward to it.
Okay. Hey, thank you for or your input here. I think people will like it, and if we do more over time, probably it will get a little bit more people in.
Yeah, great.
For your information, I'm also going to do this Saturday a podcast with the Real GP. I
Oh,
already told you that I was going to do that.
absolutely love that guy.
So
He's
I'm
one
going
of the
to use a lot of these questions as well. So for him,
yeah,
I,
great, brilliant guy. Honestly, do you know when those people you know they're amazing, but you've never met them?
so that was also for me. I want to
One of
interview him.
that guy is like, honestly, I'm going to give him the biggest hug when I see him.
Yeah,
I'm a hug.
that is indeed what he sort of radiates, right? What you say, indeed.
Such a great guy. Such a great, the
Did
best.
you listen to the podcast of
Yeah,
his family?
it was brilliant. I loved how there was a particular point in it. It skipped my mind now, annoyingly, but there was a particular point in it where I think he was talking about allowing other people to kind of speak into what they were doing as a family,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
he allowed them to have that say, right? And he realized that I think he was kind of suddenly had that epiphany that, oh, I can actually listen to other people to what to do here and then apply it. I've probably framed that wrongly, but yeah, it was a great just to hear him talk. The way his energy and the way he is, he's just a great guy. Such a great.
I think I don't know how you perceived it, but when I was listening, his wife was also talking a lot. And then you
Yeah,
see, okay, yes, okay, this dynamic is there in that family. That is very clear. And
it's such.
they had to overcome quite some problems, of course, or difficult. Yeah, I don't know how to
Yeah,
call it if it's a problem, but and you can really hear that these people became wise because of that, huh?
yeah,
And
for sure. I
smart
think.
in enjoying life and looking at life in a positive way.
Yeah,
If you hear his wife saying many times, so yeah, let's look at the positive things and then work with that, because yeah, you can focus on the negative, but just keep hanging
absolutely.
there, right?
Yeah, I think if I was to point somebody who didn't know what kind of love was in the nuclear family, I would I would point them to that family.
Exactly. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, um, thank you. I'm going to
Amazing.
stop the recording and
Perfect.
give you the night for getting the guys to bed. Say
Thank
hi to Sophie and to
I
Miles and Morgan for me.
would love to your end as well, and I thank you for all your effort and bringing that together, Christian. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye bye.
Take care.